and teachers to the MANGU High School Trial for Mock 2025. Remember, we are going to revision mode. We've been going through, we've done at least 8 papers, I guess, if you went through. And therefore, today I've purposed to focus on MANGU High School Trial for Mock because I know most of you are asking for it. This is paper 2, comprehension. So welcome, and feel free to ask any question. Now, in this revision, I'll be quickly going through the paper, sometimes showing you the pages, especially when I'm reading comprehension or the exam and the narrative. So let's try and see whether we'll cover this within the minutes that are ahead of us. Remember, I have a funeral, and it has really kept me on and off. Sometimes I don't get even enough time to do something. So before I just go for the Harambe, we are having it today, burial being on Saturday, so a lot of guests around from tomorrow. So therefore, I may not get time to do this. Currently, I'm still at school, but I'm leaving in an hour's time. So guys, listen to this. The comprehension is a bit long, but I'll try as much as I can to read through and show. So it is so easy to overestimate the importance of one defining moment and underestimate the value of making small improvements on the daily basis. Too often, we convince ourselves that massive success requires massive action. Whether it is losing weight, building a business, writing a book, winning a championship, or achieving any other goal, we put pressure on ourselves to make sure earth-shattering improvements that everyone will talk about. Paragraph 2. Meanwhile, improving by 1% isn't particularly notable. Sometimes it isn't even noticeable, but it can be far more meaningful, especially in the long run. The difference a tiny improvement can make over time is astounding. Here is how the math works out. If you get 1% better each day for each year, you will end up 37 times better by the time you are done. Conversely, if you get 1% worse each day for 1 year, you will decline nearly down to 0. What starts as a small win or a minor setback accumulates into something much more. Paragraph 3. Habits are the compound interest of self-improvement. The same way that money multiplies through compound interest, the effects of your habits multiply as you repeat them. They seem to make little difference on any given day, and yet the impact they deliver over the months and years can be enormous. It is only when looking back 2, 5, or perhaps 10 years later that the value of good habits and the cost of bad ones becomes strikingly apparent. Paragraph 4. This can be a difficult concept to appreciate in daily life. We often dismiss small changes because they don't seem to matter very much in the moment. If you save a little money now, you are still not a millionaire. If you go to a gym 3 days in a row, you're still out of shape. If you study English for an hour tonight, you still haven't learned the language. We make the few changes, but the results never seem to come quickly, and so we slide back into our previous routines. Unfortunately, the slow pace of transformation also makes it easy to let a bad habit slide. If you eat an unhealthy meal today, the scale doesn't move much. If you work late tonight and ignore your family, they'll forgive you. If you procrastinate and put your project off until tomorrow, there will usually be time to finish it later. A single decision is easy to dismiss. But when we repeat 1% errors day after day, by replicating poor decisions, duplicating tiny mistakes, and rationalizing little excuses, our small choices compound into toxic results. It is the accumulation of many missteps, a 1% decline here and there, that eventually leads to a problem. Similarly, a slight change in your daily habits can guide your life to a very difficult destination. Making a choice that is 1% better or 1% worse seems insignificant in the moment, but over a span of moments that make up a lifetime, these choices determine the difference between who you are and who you could be. Success is the product of daily habits, not once in a lifetime transformation. That said, it doesn't matter how successful or unsuccessful you are right now. What matters is whether your habits are putting you on the path towards success. You should be far more concerned with your current trajectory than with your current results. If you are a millionaire, but you spend more than you earn each month, then you are a bad trajectory. If your spending habits don't change, it is not going to end well. Conversely, if you are broke, but you save a little bit every month, then you are on the path towards financial freedom, even if you are moving slower than you would like. Your outcomes are a lagging measure of your habits, yet net worth is a lagging measure of your financial habits. Your weight is lagging measure in your eating habits. Your knowledge is a lagging measure of your learning habits. Your clutter is a lagging measure of your cleaning habits. You get what you repeat. Habits are double-edged sword. So question 1, let's go to the question. Question 1 is asking, what does the writer mean by the first statement of the first paragraph? Now, for you to answer this question as a student, you have to go back to the paragraph. They have said the first statement of the first paragraph. Now, the first statement is, it is so easy to overestimate the importance of one defining moment and underestimate the value of making small improvements on the daily basis. Now, you have to consider the marks there too. So, if you look at what the writer is saying, the writer is trying to say that most times people estimate their value in the long run. However, the small things we do every day are very important and we need to consider them, right? Question B says, what are we told about habits in the second paragraph of the passage? Now we have to go to the second paragraph. Now, the habits, we are told that improving can be great if we look at what we do every day. If we do behave in a wrong way, it might influence us negatively over time. If we also impact on what we do daily positively, it might positively lead to our desired results. Question C. Show the relationship between habits and compound interest. Did you see the part where the author wrote about this? Of course, it's paragraph 3. We are told that habits are the compound interest of self-improvement, right? So there is a relationship directly between self-improvement and compound interest, yeah? So the more we try to work every day, the more it will impact on our yearly accounts of what we gain. Question D, cite examples from the passage to show the habits are a double-edged sword, okay? Now, here at the end, that is where the author has told us that habits are a double-edged sword. Hey, there's a lot of noise because there is a power saw that is working within the school. Anyway, let's see how we can deal with this. Of course, when you look at double-edged sword of habits, we've been clearly told in the passage that when we excuse ourselves most times and we procrastinate, it will lead to mistakes. If we also practice errors every day, they lead to our downfall. If we also choose things that are mistakes, they'll eventually lead us to problems, all right? On the same account, if we keep working positively in our life, it will bring a lot of significant improvement. We can, for example, make a lot of wealth if we keep saving every day, however poor we are. At the same time, when we spend what we have every day, little by little, even if we are millionaires, later on we might become poor. The next question is a summary question. Of course, 2025, we are expecting a summary question from question 1. So our question is, in a summary of not more than 60 words, explain why the author says the concept of habits being compound interest is difficult to appreciate in daily life. Now, we have to look at the comprehension to check where we have been told that it's very difficult for us to appreciate the small efforts we make. All right? The concept of habits being compound interest is difficult to appreciate. Now, when you look at our work, we are seeing this one is happening from paragraph 4. And we have been told the reason why we cannot appreciate the daily moves that we make. 1, we dismiss small changes as they do not matter then. Okay? That is the first thing. The second thing is that the slow pace of transformation is not easy to let us actually give up on bad habits. Then the third point is that sometimes we duplicate the tiny mistakes all the time and we don't see until there's a big problem. The fourth point is that our daily problems guide us into the final destination, but we do not see it until the transformation has been done in life. Okay? So the question has 5 marks, which means there is still one more point to look for. Because when you look at summary, when a question has been asked in summary, the number of marks matches the number of points. That one should be sure. Now, the other point here I can see is that most times we look at the path of success, the end product, and that is why we may not look at the compounded aspects. Now, when you're writing the summary, you have to bring all these words together in a rough copy and see how many they are. Once you realize, again, questions these days have 2 parts, summary plus something else. Now here, you see we have concepts which you have to look for. Then you write together. Also check on transitional words. There might be importance of transitional words to affect our reasoning. The next question is grammar question. I'm not liking that noise. Actually, it's affecting my communication, but I'll try because I don't have another space where I can go do a video from. So the next question is F. Maybe you can look at this. You should be far more concerned with your current trajectory than with your current results. Rewrite beginning you are. Okay? So, of course, when you look at that question, it's forcing us to go back to the phrase. Let's just look at this. You should be far more concerned with your current trajectory than with your current results. So you can begin with this, your current results or your current trajectory. So if I begin with your current trajectory, my answer will be this. Your current trajectory should concern you more than your results. Your current trajectory should concern you more than your current results. Or, your current results should not concern you more than your current trajectory, right? Okay. And remember, this is a grammar question, so punctuation should be on point. The full stop, the capital letters, and how you will shape the rest of the words. G. Explain the following imagery. Habits are the compound interest of self-improvement. So here, of course, we have a metaphor. So you'll say this is a metaphor. A metaphor that means that if we keep doing some things every day, they affect how we will improve ourselves later. And you can give an example of the aspect of saving, the aspect of bad habits or errors, and what they lead into. The next words is explain the meanings of the following words. Of course, we have 3. Astounding, enormous, clutter. I would give you without going back to the passage, but let's go back. Astounding. Astounding is surprising, amazing, you know. Enormous is big, voluminous, great. Then when you look at clutter, Your clutter is a lagging measure of your cleaning habits. Okay? You get what you repeat. Are you seeing? So what do they mean here? Your knowledge is a lagging measure of your learning habits. Your clutter is a lagging measure of your cleaning habits. So the beauty around your home, your beauty or your hygiene, something like that. Now when you're giving meanings of words, remember to maintain the word, the tense and all that. Let's go to the second question. It's an excerpt. Reading through again, just so that you understand. So the question involves around Act 2. Ted says, the first is the individual. Like who? Ted, they are quite a number. Honorable Ferreira or Mr. Key, as they will still call him, is the best example. This man has never seen a fence on which he can sit. He can hardly ever commit to any side. We chatted at length, and he kept me in circles, citing proverbs and idioms here and there. Ramdai, I wonder why they called him Mr. Key. I hear he can never make up mind which door to open, or in fact, whether to open any door at all. Seima says, so what did he say? Ted says, he said that what will be, because something certainly will be. Ramdai, is that a proverb? Ted says, I have since been wondering whether it is, but he also said you don't cross the bridge until you get to it. Seima, which bridge now? Ted, I am not sure which bridge he meant, but I guess he must have been talking about the cases in case we are sued. Ramdai, what an upstart he is. I hear he even has difficulties deciding what and how much to eat. Seima, you talked of different categories. What are the other categories? Ted, the other category comprises the majority. I would best describe them as the headless type. Ramdai asks, headless? Ted says, yes, they have brains all right, but they don't use them. Seima asks, how on earth? Ramdai says, you mean they are like headless chicken? Ted answers, exactly, they are headless chicken. They follow the leader of their ethnic group who thinks for them, and they wait for the leader to make decisions for them in all matters, including the decision to go to pee. Most members of the People Party of Mr. Basdeo belong here. So do the members of Moses Liberal Party. Seima says, I thank God I don't belong to any ethnic group. Ted says, then there is what I can describe as the entrepreneurial type. Ramdai asks, who are these? Ted says, these are political entrepreneurs, very keen on making money. They vote with their stomach, so to speak. That means they'll vote the side that gives more money. Seima asks, are you saying they demanded money to support the no confidence motion? Ted says, yes, that was my understanding. I indicated funds would be available. They promised to deal as soon as the money changes hands. All right? So the first question is explain what happens just before the excerpt. Of course, my friends, students, teachers, in case you have interacted with this excerpt, you know from the book, that is immediately after Mayor Mosi and Bembe organized to actually report the case of the Randagate affair on Ted and Seima. So they decide to go have a meeting. So here, the first aspect is that Ted and the rest of the leaders emphasize that there is need for them to have an immediate action to oust Morsi out of office. The second thing is that they had sent Seima to find out information about the different categories. And Ted had some information about it. Yeah, so Ted had gone about to find the different groups that are available and how to find them. Okay? Then the second question is identify. Identify and illustrate one character trait of Honorable Ferreira. The second is Honorable Ted. Now let's go back to the excerpt. For us to answer the character traits of Ted, or Seimo, we have to look at the excerpt and how they are speaking. Now look at Ted. Ted has classified people based on how they are. So you can say he's judgmental. Judgmental because he has made a resolution about the kind of people who are in the different categories. Another one, we can say that he's, you look at this. Yeah? When you look at the way he judges these people as headless chicken and all that, we might say that he's actually someone who is kind of arrogant, right? Yeah. And then proud because he thinks himself as a very important individual than any other. Now, when you look at Ferreira, Honorable Ferreira, let's look at what we are told about him. We are told that Honorable Ferreira here has never seen a fence to sit on, and he can hardly commit to any side. And he cited proverbs and idioms, so that tells us that he's a wise person, so we can say he's wise. And the illustration will be that he uses proverbs in his talk. We can also say that Honorable Ferreira is indecisive because he has never seen a fence to sit on. Now let's get to a different character here, a different question. So the next question is C. Explain the use of language in the excerpt. Explain the use of language in the excerpt. Of course, we have metaphor, headless chicken. We have hyperbole. They cannot make decisions including whether to pee. Then we have direct translation, they vote with the stomach. Apart from that, we have a proverb. Don't, you cross the bridge until you get there. That's a proverb. Simile, like headless chicken. That is a simile there. All right? Yeah. Now let's get to irony. It's also ironical. It's also ironical that Mr. Key does not make a decision about anything. And the other aspect of irony is that we see Ted saying something here. Ted says Morsi has a Liberal Party, but the people in the Liberal Party can only make decisions based on Morsi. That one is not a Liberal Party, right? When you are liberal, you are supposed to be free. Free of thought, free of ideology, and free of everything. The next question is this one. From elsewhere in the play, what cases is Honorable Ted referring to? 3 marks. So you have to give 3 points here. Of course, the cases are so many, including land grabbing by Bembe. We have municipal capture by Morsi. Yeah. That's noise by a power, so it's just too much, but I hope you will get it, because as I told you, I'll not have another time to do this video because of the funeral that has actually made us to run around so much. So the first aspect of the cases is land grabbing by Bembe. We have the use of militia gangs or the gangs that are being used, such as Black Swan Gun, Red Eagle, and those other groups by the leaders. We have misallocation of funds, fraud, bribery, among other cases. The next question is, what is Honorable Ted's attitude towards the headless type? The headless type, of course, you know, they are the ones who are not able to make a decision. I think he has a contemptuous attitude or spiteful attitude towards the headless type. He dislikes what they do, and he thinks they are not worth. The next question is F, grammar. Let me show you that one. These are political entrepreneurs, very keen on making money. Rewrite using the relative clause. Of course, you should know relative pronouns such as who, which, for you to know how to answer this one. So you'll say these are political entrepreneurs who are very keen on making money. The next question is explain two social concerns that are addressed in this excerpt. Of course, we have several, such as bribery, the fact that we have the entrepreneur type who are ready to receive money before they vote. That is corruption. Then we have another social issue. Let's look at this one. Mistake within the excerpt, and you can get more possibly. Let's get to the meanings of words. One is upstart. Upstart are minions. Yeah. Vote with their stomachs is they elect leaders when they receive bribes. Now let's go to the third question. The third question, of course, from the prediction of this year is a narrative. Unless there is an urgency or emergency paper. Let's check on this and read through. Long, long ago, animals and birds spoke just like men do. When God had to stop them speaking, he made birds sing like this, chirp, chirp, chirp. Lions to roar like the grag, grag, and hyena to howl like this, hoo, hoo. And you blame God. Listen to what naughty hyena, who had gone 2 days without any meal, did. He had been wandering up and down the hills when he suddenly stopped, nose in the air, 1 foot raised. Do I smell food? He slowly raised his head to the skies as if to say, please God, let me find some food, even 1 rotting bone will do. Slowly, he followed the smell, sniffing hard, stopping now and again, ever grinning wide as the smell became stronger. Here at last, he said as he came in sight of a calf that seemed dead, flies buzzing over its excrement. Good, no time to waste. Who knows the owner may be around? Oh no, I see it is secured to a tree with a mukwa. I'll take my time. I am tired too. Come to think of it, God gave us pretty strong senses of smell, generous old man. Still, I do think some people tend to exaggerate. Now, who is saying the other day, Ati, God is the giver of everything, and that we should be grateful? Okay. Tell me, did God give this calf? Did you, God? I found it myself. Smelt my way there, all the way. Nice calf too. Rather thin, but it will do. I'll take the head home and make soup with herbs. I especially like mudadi, and I see one over there. Okay, here we go. Where shall I start? This lovely neck? No, I know. I'll start with the mukwa, then I'll get on to the soft stuff, the tail, the rump, mahook. After chewing up half of the mukwa, the hyena brushed his teeth with the twig of mudiga, a tree to stimulate his appetite. He stepped on the calf's tail, stuffed it in his mouth, and snap it went. The calf, which was only very sick and tired, shot up and bolted away in a twinkling of an eye. The hyena rubbed his eyes, ample after disappearing calf, and soon fell down in exhaustion. He looked up again in the heaven, tried to speak, but no words came. Hyena have never been able to speak again. Categorize this narrative and give the reason for classification. Of course, it is an etiological narrative. It explains why hyenas don't speak. B. Identify and explain 2 features of oral narrative evident in this story. We have a closing formula. Hyenas have never spoke ever since. We have dialogue. Okay. Is it dialogue or monologue? Monologue. Here we go. Where shall I start? This lovely neck. Then we have opening formula. Long ago, we have idiophones, chirp, chirp, hoo, hoo, crack, crack. Then we have the use of fantasy, because we have never seen the hyena speaking even today. We have personification, the hyena being able to possess the calf. The other question is, describe two character traits of hyenas depicted in the narrative. He is unappreciative. When he gets or ungrateful. When he gets the calf, he says it's not God who gave. He's also foolish. He begins by the tail, the calf's tail. Then we see the calf bolting away. Okay? We can get more character traits later. For now, let's just finish this part. The next question is, what do we learn about the community depicted in the narrative? Of course, here they are asking for social and economic aspects. So we learn that they practice farming, animal farming. That's why you have the calf. The other thing, we learn that they are religious. They pray to God for offering. And of course, the hyena is also religious. He prayed, right? Moral lesson of the narrative, we should be appreciative when God provides us with things. And here you can say the hyena becomes ungrateful and the calf runs away. And when he tries later, he becomes mute. Instead of irony evident in the narrative, the fact that the hyena has spent all time without food, and when he gets one, he begins to be ungrateful. Then the other one is that the hyena gets the calf, and yet he begins with the tail. What is the tone of the hyena's utterances? One is a proud tone or dismissive tone, because he dismisses God to have done what he did. For grammar, let's see whether we can finish grammar, but even if we don't, I think we have done much of MANGU paper. The first question is, rewrite the following sentences according to instructions given after each. Question 1, you will not take this book under any circumstances. The answer should be, under no circumstances will you take this book. Question 2, do not give in to peer pressure. The principal advised the student. Begin with a quote, do not give in to peer pressure. Comma, close the quotation mark. The principal advised the students, full stop. The next one, that was the first time our MPs voted to impeach a deputy president. Begin never. Never before have our MPs voted to impeach a deputy principal. The next question is, were it not for their laziness, they would have not done quite well. Then it should be, but for their laziness, they would have done quite well. The criminal's dash behavior in court upheld the judge scandalous, and S should be small letter, not like this one. Next, Justin was suspended from his job. His dash was questionable, sobriety. She walked cautiously on the wet floor. The next one is, you fill the blank spaces with the appropriate word. Massive immigration is a real hot potato for the European countries. The next one, the project had been funded for another year, but it's not out of hands yet. And the next, I don't like Joy because he tries to stab me in the back. The last questions. For each of the following sentences, replace the underlined phrasal verb with one word. It is not good to walk out on our family, to abandon our family. I do not like falling out with my siblings, quarrel or argue with my siblings. The next one is, I will take, disagree, not argue, disagree or quarrel. I'll take aback. I was taken aback by her snide remarks. I was surprised. Then the last one, you fill the prepositions. The disgruntled members could not agree, dash a common stand, on a common stand. It is advisable to pay dash check by check. So thank you so much. Let's meet next time. Yeah, bye-bye. Let's meet another time. Thank you for your moment. Karatasi zangu nataka Give me my papers. You give me. Leta. Sasa mtamaliza lini? I told you to finish.